I already turned on my FB. I'm going to share the FB Live first.
चल मैं आज अरविंद पे ज्वाइन किया. Arvind, welcome.
Sir.
ये सीएमई जैसा हम लोग वेट कर रहे हैं, कौन कौन ज्वाइन करेगा.
I'm going to share the FB Live first.
चल मैं आज अरविंद पे ज्वाइन किया.
Okay, so it's ready now. I already set all.
So I can see the program live in Facebook.
Yeah, you can see the program live.
Yeah.
I'm sharing it to the group also. In my wall at the main, as the main, and then to two groups, the medical groups and the global groups.
Issy, welcome. So Teo, let me know when you're ready.
Okay, I'm ready. It's already live. I think the sound is good in the Facebook.
Arvind, welcome.
Okay.
There's a lag, I think. There's a time lag.
Yeah, there's a time like between the real Zoom meeting and the Facebook. It's always like that.
ये सीएमई जैसा हम लोग वेट कर रहे हैं, कौन कौन ज्वाइन करेगा.
Okay, I'm ready.
Few minutes. Anup, do we start? It's
Yeah,
already
we can.
6 p.m.
Yeah, we can.
Dr. Tanmoy is also here. Dr. Tanmoy, welcome.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening to happy to see you.
So what I'll do is I'm going to put everyone on mute and what do? I make you third one also as co-host?
Sorry?
I make you third one also as co-host.
Oh yeah.
I'll make so that you can. But
Yeah.
I hope, fine. So, Teo, what we will do is we are going to keep everyone on mute and video off, and only two of us will be in the screen. So I will start recording.
Yeah. Okay.
And then start the discussion, and finally we'll just open for any question and answer session, and then we will close the session, and then maybe chit chat and disperse.
Okay.
So are you ready? Shall we start?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Fine. Anup, just see that everyone is on mute. That's all. Record to the cloud. A big hello to all the viewers. Welcome again to the DLife.in channel. I am Shashikant Iyengar, the host today. I am also DLife.in premium member and a volunteer. So the disclaimer is there are no financials attached to this session. All are free of cost to disseminate genuine information. DLife.in is a community platform for low carbers. It's a platform for those suffering from diabetes, obesity, PCOS and other metabolic syndrome. DLife.in has over 250 success stories, and they also have around more than 1,200 low carb Indian recipes. DLife.in was developed by Anup Singh, who is an engineer from IIT. Recently, Anup Singh and DLife has been recognized and awarded as Icons of India by a leading magazine by the name Outlook magazine for pioneering low carb in India. They also launched a diploma in low carb nutrition last year for those wishing to gain more knowledge to help others. So viewers, today I am very, very happy to have a guest today from Indonesia. So we have Teo Prasetyo.
Yes.
welcome.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you, Pasi.
So Teo has a very, very, very unique story to tell, and let me get the pleasure of introducing Teo. So he is the founder of what is called as Keto Fastosis lifestyle community with almost 400,000 members all over Indonesia, Malaysia, Brunei and Singapore. Teo is also the organizer of the first Southeast Asia Low Carb Conference in Indonesia that is held in April 2019. That conference also had some of the top brains like Dr. Eric Westman, Dr. Georgie Eid and Dr. Gary Fettke. Teo is also the founder of Keto Fastosis medical community with almost 500 members from the medical background in Indonesia. And so Teo is also a speaker for many of the low carb seminars in Indonesia since 1916. Teo, welcome to India virtually.
Hello. Glad to see you in India virtually. I hope I can go there someday. I'm very curious about India.
So, Teo, have you ever addressed the Indian population before?
Sorry?
Have you ever addressed India before?
No, not yet. But I have a friend from India. I met him in other Facebook groups. I forgot his name, but I don't know how long I haven't contacted him and her. Perhaps you know Anu Pupala?
No, I haven't.
You don't know.
So, Teo, nice to have. I've been in Jakarta back in 2009 for a very short visit. So, Teo, let's get along now. Please tell us briefly about your background.
Okay, my background. Actually, before I'm doing this low carb lifestyle, I was an entrepreneur. I'm producing automotive paint. Actually, I'm doing in automotive paint industries, and I work. My business is start from 2004 until now. But at the beginning of this lifestyle is all because my son, my firstborn son, which, as you know, he has cerebral palsy. That's the beginning of I am entering this low carb lifestyle.
So, Teo, you have a very, very interesting story about your real life story about your son Alif suffering from cerebral palsy. So, that is how you have founded what is called as a very unique term in the low carb community called ketofastosis.
Yeah, actually, ketofastosis is the name of the community. The first protocol I made is the fastosis itself. The fastosis stands for fasting on ketosis.
Yeah.
We have lots of fasting, but I'm going to make a point there is that we are fasting on ketosis. That's why it's called fastosis. But the community itself and the lifestyle itself called ketofastosis. It's not just the ordinary keto diet, but it is a ketofastosis lifestyle.
So very interesting here to again know that here is one more person who is an engineer, and engineers are making a lot of waves in the nutrition medical community. Just like we have Anup Singh here, and we have various engineers in the nutrition space who are just changing the perspective, changing the entire thing on the medical community. So Teo, please tell us about your son Alif, his background about cerebral palsy, and how you came to this particular generating this term, and how you actually taking care of your son's cerebral palsy with ketofastosis. Very, very interesting story. Please tell us as much as you can.
Okay, so it begins at 2009, when my son is born at 2008, but in 2009 he had a seizure, when he was, if I've not forgot, about 6 months old. He had a seizure, and me and my wife were really shocked about it, and we don't know what happened. And then we take him to an MRI, and we just found out that he had cerebral palsy. So if you know ventricle, in our brain there is a ventricle, two ventricles actually. The left side, the ventricle getting very large, so it is called ventriculomegaly. The white matter is so thin, so the doctor call it myelin. The myelin is thin. That's why the right side of his body is very weak. It's not grow as fast as the left one. That's when we know about it. So actually, because the word of myelin itself, when it comes from the diagnosis from the doctor, that diagnosed that my son have a cerebral palsy, and it's quite severe too. The ventriculomegaly is really big. So the doctor said that my son won't be able to speak, to walk, perhaps even to see and hear. There's going to be a problem in there. So we will really shocked, because that's our first son, right? we have lots of hope for our first son. So I tried to do anything back then to fix his seizure. I don't know how, but there's also a diagnosis of hydrocephalus, because he has this cystic in what you call it choroid plexus. So the cerebrospinal fluid cannot turn over, right? So it will stop in the brain, and sometimes it's going to make the seizure happens. So the diagnosis is also hydrocephalus, and the doctor said that he had to place a shunt to make the symptoms go away. But I try to not to use that options of using shunt. So I'm learning lots from the word myelin itself, because I don't know anything about human physiology or anything about medical, but that word myelin come across me, and I try to learn. So if I want to fix my son, that means his myelin have to grow back. That's the common people think, right? There's a problem with the myelin, so how to make the myelin grow again and make him normal again? That's the common thing of common people. So I was once bought myelin. That's actually a myelin product. It was intended for multiple sclerosis. The product is sold from Australia. I cannot speak you about the brand, but it comes with bovine myelin. It comes from a bovine myelin. So I think that if I give it to my son, that the myelin would grow back, would grow again and make him normal again. But actually, it's not. so the more I learn about myelin, about this myelin stuff, the white matter in the brain, I learn a lot. I start to learn about human physiology, especially how the brain makes its myelin. So actually, even though we eat the bovine myelin or even the supplement of bovine myelin, it cannot cross our brain because our brain has the blood-brain barrier, right? The blood-brain barrier won't let any substance that big enough to cross the blood-brain barrier, especially the fat. The fat cannot cross the blood-brain barrier, as we know. So, from how can the brain synthesize the myelin itself? So, from what I learned, then I found out that the basic substrate for it is cholesterol. Oh, cholesterol. Okay. So, if we eat more cholesterol, can it cross to the brain to be used? Physiologically, no, it can't. Even like I said before, all kind of fat, phospholipid or cholesterol itself or triglyceride, all kind of lipid cannot cross the blood-brain barrier. Well, as we know, the brain itself is almost 80 to 90% is fat substance, right? So how can the brain that needs so many fat substrate to be produced there, but cannot take it from the blood itself, what we can from what we eat? So from what I learned, then I just found out that it was synthesized. So the brain cell is doing what it called with de novo lipogenesis. They synthesize their own lipid material for their own growth in the brain. The brain cannot easily take from the circulation, the blood circulation system, because of the blood-brain barrier itself. So, how can the brain synthesize myelin using cholesterol if the cholesterol cannot be taken from the circulation system? Then I learned again that the ketone is actually the substrate to make the cholesterol before the cholesterol is going to be made as a myelin. So what is this ketone? Then I start to search about ketone itself. But back then, in 2009, keto is not like now, not as famous as now. There was Atkins, but from the scientific literature that I searched, if I search for the word ketone, you're going to find it from fasting or starvation. There's not too much about keto back then, but you can see ketone from fasting, prolonged fasting or starvation. It's like a negative word for it, right? Starvation is bad, but it is actually the physiology of human being of how to make cholesterol itself. So because the brain cells is independently synthesizing their own lipids, so ketone as the substrate must be normal, right? It's not like a pathophysiology of diabetic, type 1 diabetic, right? It's not only that, but it has a use. Especially if you look at starvation journal, so without ketone, human won't be able to starve more than 3 to 4 days without ketone, right? So if we see it from the normal perspective now, in modern days, we see, why would people not eat for 3 to 4 days? Are they countering the war or something? We're going to think like that, right? But if we can just back to our ancestral timeline, when food is something that we have to search for, not to just diet, we have to search for. There is an uncertainty of food availability in the wild, right? So ketone is actually the normal thing for human. That's what I learned. So at the beginning, starts from myelin itself. Then I knew about ketone. Then because all the journal perspective are negative, because it happened because of prolonged fasting or starvation, then I look into the depth from the relativity of the time. That's the one that make sense, especially when because I'm an engineer, I always see everything as a system. Like human is a biological system, right? We are actually a biological system. We are a part of the species in the animal kingdom, right? So as a human, our metabolic system must have a fuel tank, right? It's like a car system. Car always have a fuel tank, fuel reserve. You cannot just drive and fill the gas and drive again, fill the gas all the time. You have to have a reserve fuel tank. So if we see human, our fuel system, our fuel is not sugar. Although what we believe that today, what modern belief is, for energy we need sugar, right? We need sugar. We have to eat rice. Like us in India, you eat rice, right? The staple food. Yeah, right. Yeah, like rice. In the Western country, they eat bread, potatoes. So they all need carbohydrates as the energy substance and substrate for energy. So we believe that for energy we need glucose, sugar, or carbohydrates, right? So, but if you see the system as physiologically, it's wrong. Because, like, after we eat carbohydrates, if we're still healthy and we don't have any diabetes issue, it gets lowered by itself within 2-3 hours. Without doing nothing. Without you have to run and use it first. You just sit. After you eat, you just eat watching TV. As long as you're still healthy and you still have a good insulin response, you don't have any insulin resistance, your body won't hold this sugar for that long. They're going to be lowered. So if you think that our fuel tank is sugar, that's very wrong. So what is the real fuel tank for human as a system? Then you'll find out that our fuel tank is actually fat. That's why if we eat more than we need, the body going to transform it, every excess in calories that we eat, whatever you eat, even you eat proteins, carbohydrates, or the fat itself, is going to be turned into the substrate that the body can store, which is fat. So by looking at it, so we understand that the human fuel tank is actually fat. No matter what you eat, no matter diet you're on, they're going to store the excess always in fat, because that's how our system have to store in the fuel tank. So if we all believe that our fuel tank is fat, think again. What is the real motor in the body? Like the brain, like an engine, a mobile, like a vehicle, like a car. The engine is the real motor. So it can turn the wheels, it can drive way, yeah? But in humans, we have skeletal muscle. This is the skeletal muscle. Something control them. Although we move with our skeletal muscle, but the controller of everything of the system is the brain, right? So if the main motor in our human body is the brain, and the fuel tank, as we agree, is the fat, there's something wrong with the design. You know what's something wrong? Why there has to be a blood-brain barrier? It makes you curious. As an engineer, you must be curious. I think Mr. Anup will be curious too. Why the brain has a blood-brain barrier that not allowing fat to cross the brain? If it is the energy, if it is the fuel for the human being, like we agree. So actually, it is the fuel. It is the fuel. The fat actually, it is the fuel for human being. Our heart, our liver can easily use fat once they were released from the fat cell. But what about the brain, the motor itself? So that's what makes ketosis itself is normal, because it's the system. So if people ask me, what is keto? I don't want to talk about keto. I want to talk about the physiology first. I want to talk about ketosis. Keto diet is the way of eating to make ketosis happens, to make the ketogenesis happens, which is the fat being transformed into a ketone in the liver. Then the ketone itself can cross the blood-brain barrier and be used by the brain. So, and that is a very normal thing. If we agree that the body fat, the fat storage system is our fuel tank. The motor itself in the body, which is the brain, have to get the access for it. If you don't have ketone in the blood, which is the liver doesn't do ketogenesis, so the brain will only use glucose. As we learned previously, no matter what you eat, even you eat carbs, as long as you're not having diabetic issue, your blood glucose will go down. And if you don't eat, it will get lower and lower, right? So it makes you crave on glucose again. Because of what? Because your brain going to need it again. You're going to stop for glucose again. You're going to scream for glucose. Because what? There's no ketone. No matter how fat you are, no matter how large your storage system for fat, without ketone, your brain wouldn't able to recognize it, right? How to recognize the fat? How the brain recognize the fat? If the fat itself cannot cross the blood-brain barrier. So the word ketosis and ketogenesis is just a way for the brain to actually recognize our fuel tank. That's the basic principle of ketosis. That's just only how physiologically I try to explain to, especially to medical community, about why this is so normal. That's why even baby was born in ketosis.
Yeah.
Like we learn. You see. So we, like I tell you before, that we are in the species of animal kingdom, but the difference is we are so weak. In the animal kingdom, the human species are so weak because of what? Like you see a cow, when he gave birth, not long from just 2-3 weeks, the cow, the newborn cow will be able to walk like a bird. Won't take long before it can fly. Many animal species develop their motoric skills first. The locomotor system is growing first. That's how they survive. So they can avoid the predators, right? But humans is very weak. Why? Because it took 9 months. It took 9 months for us to be able to walk normally using our locomotor system. Why? Because our destiny as a human to survive in this world is not the locomotor system that is number one. It is actually the brain. We develop the brain for 9 months. The baby always sleep, have lots of sleep because he needs to grow the brain first. Because that's the thing that we our species need to survive. We need to develop a normal brain system. That's why we also have a higher basal metabolic rate for the brain compared to other species, because we have too many neurons in our brain compared to other species. But from the evolution perspective, you can see that we can develop technology where other animal species cannot. Like if you see lions, perhaps 200,000 years ago, lions catch their prey with teeth, and we still try to catch our prey with spear, with only sharpening a stone, perhaps. Now we can make a gun, right? What about science? No, they're still using their teeth. They're still trying to catch their prey with their skill, with their locomotor skill. We don't fight animals with our locomotor. We're going to get those, but we get to be the superior species in the world because our brain, right? So the most important thing for human, if you see ketosis, always look to the brain. if you want to make why ketosis, people always say why. You have to explain first about why ketosis, because with ketosis, my brain can access its fuel tank. That's the real point of being ketosis, to access its fuel tank. So the brain will always get a constant energy every time from the fuel tank, like what a car supposed to be. It has to get a constant fuel source from the fuel tank to get the engine running, right? So the car won't have to stop 3 to 4 times a day to fill the gas, like like you perhaps when you still eat carbs, perhaps you eat 3 or more, right? Or 4. Sorry. Not to mention the snack, right? but you see how humans become a sugar addict. I mean, sugar from not just the sugar itself, but also sugar from the carbohydrate when it has been digested, is because it's the one who always asks for it. Our brain is simply like that, because our brain is always screaming for the fuel. No ketones, so it has to be the sugar. Where's the sugar? You have to get it from your food, and it's not going to stay very long. If it is stay long, then you already have a metabolic issue. If you have too long of higher glucose level, you already have metabolic issue. So I hope with this explanation we can understand. Before we talk about what to eat on keto diet, please understand about the ketosis itself as a system. As a system of our human biology. If we are as a species, the most important organ for humans compared to other species is our brain, because this is how we survive, then you have to accept that it is normal for the brain to recognize the body fat through a substance that is called ketone, because that's the only way the fat going to cross the brain. With ketone, we recognize our fuel tank. As simple as that.
I think that was a very good physiology lesson, and you have really done a lot of research.
You have to see the big picture.
Yeah, and I'm very curious to know about how your son actually recovered. What exactly you did, because he was so small. This is such an inspirational story where a doctor told you that your son will not be able to walk, he will not be able to talk, he may not be able to do many activities. Maybe
perhaps in India, perhaps you see in India there's also cerebral palsy completely, right? Yeah. You see that their hand is stiff. They cannot talk. But if you see from my Facebook, sometimes I post about my son. You see that. I'm not saying my son is now normal. He's not normal at all.
I'm sharing this son. This is Theo, his spouse and his son. And you can see exactly that he's just enjoying his life.
Yeah, I know. My son is 12 years old now, but he's not normal like other kids. But he's improved far way much better than what the doctor told us before. He can speak few words, but especially the motoric system is getting better and better, and he doesn't get any seizures since he was 2 years old. As I remember, after 2 years old, no more seizure without
10 years.
any drugs.
10 years seizure free. 10 years seizure free. And I do see a lot of videos of you walking with your son. I think at least he's not consigned to a wheelchair, unlike what we see many of us here in India.
Before 2 years, yes, he is in wheelchair. Before 2 years, yes.
In India, we do see many of these kids consigned to a wheelchair, having almost limp hand and legs. I think you have come a long way. So can you just share your story? What exactly you did with your son?
Actually, we also do physiotherapy. It's not just the foot. I cannot say that it's only without eating carbs you're going to get right with the cerebral palsy. No, it has to take a lot of work. Especially the credit is for my wife, because we together getting physiotherapy every day. My son wakes up at 4 a.m. every day, and he start his physiotherapy start from 5 a.m. and then it stopped when he get to sleep, which is after 6 p.m. So his life is all about physiotherapy. I cannot show you, but there is a tools that we use to strengthen his muscle, to keep his muscle good, and there's a lot of physiotherapy technique for his training session to make his motoric better. But the thing is, my son, from the first time he ate at about 7 to 8 months, the first time we gave additional food, no carb at all. So actually, my son never eat any carbs since he was born, and all. He only eat fish, like chicken breast, and sometimes we use some tofu sometimes, but only that. He never eat any carbs at all. He just eat real food, but we have to blender it to make it smooth at the beginning, but today he can eat fish or chicken by himself, but he never ate any carbs. That's what makes him seizure free. That's the basic, because every time he gets seizure, if a cerebral palsy or epileptic kid gets a seizure, the motoric that we have trained him or her will get down, will get lower again. So it's important to make the cerebral palsy kids to be seizure free, but to make his ability for the motoric system to work like as a normal kid, we have to do a lot of work, especially from the physiotherapy stuff. We cannot just do it by not eating carbs. The not eating carbs helps to support his growth, his ability to learn, and seizure free. That's the important one.
So it is just, it is surprising. Even I never knew, though I've been following you, been reading, that he was not on any carbs, no grains. And what else have you fed him? I mean, any supplementation like MCT or coconut oil, have you ever given him additional fat?
For my son?
Yeah.
No.
For him, just real food.
Just real food from the beginning, because like we know, babies are born in ketosis, right? So when he ate, he just follow his normal type of ketosis living. But for we as an adult, sometimes we need virgin coconut oil or MCT, because it helps the adaptation first, because it helps to get additional ketones level before we can make our own sufficiently. So the thing is why we need that supplementation at the beginning for additional ketone is to avoid the neuroglycopenia. Sometimes when we have a metabolic issue, our liver just isn't fast enough to make the ketone. So when we starting not to eat, the normal physiology is if you don't eat carbs, the insulin will get lower and the lipolysis is getting higher. So there is going to be loss of free fatty acids in the blood, right? And it's going to be turned into ketone. That's the normal physiology, and the ketone is supposed to be sufficient enough for the brain to replace the glucose. That's what happened. But why it is for some people, especially with metabolic issue, it's important to add additional supplementation at the beginning of adaptation, because it's to avoid the neuroglycopenia issue. So when there is not enough ketone, but you already have hypoglycemic symptoms. That's the idea of why I always tell my member to use it at the beginning of the adaptation, perhaps about 3 to 6 months at the beginning. But for my son, no, he doesn't need it, because he never eat carbs since the beginning. He's only breastfed, then it's real food. That's it.
And so these protein foods, will they not reduce the ketone level? You're giving chicken, so this is the protein. They come with fat, no doubt. But will they reduce ketone level? Protein, because there's a big fear in the community that excess protein will harm.
Yeah. No, so I mean, if if I check my blood ketones, I almost 12 years not eating carbs. I don't have as high ketone level as I was in my first year. Many people will see that if at the first year, the first or second year, they still can see about 2 millimole and above, about 3 to 4 millimole. But when you have stay long enough in ketosis, your normal ketone level will be only about 0.5 to 2 millimole. That's about it. That you don't have to catch for ketone, because at the end, the ketone itself is only important for the brain. Because our other cells, like heart cell, liver cell, any cell, skeletal muscle, can directly use fatty acid.
Free fatty acid.
Free fatty acid can be taken directly from the circulation. Yeah, but the ketone must always there because of what? The blood-brain barrier. That's the basic idea.
Yeah.
So at the beginning, people may see their ketone level is getting higher at the beginning. Without having to do anything, even without having the MCT itself, they can see higher. Even they can see it on their urine. That's why we call it ketonuria. Yeah, because the ketone level at the beginning is getting higher. It is just because the adaptation process. While the higher ketone helps other cells, extra brain, other than the brain, helps other cells to adapt to using the fatty acid itself. So ketone is the substrate that most cells in our body with mitochondria likes. Ketone itself helps to make our cells rejuvenate. So there will be mitochondria biogenesis. But after our cell is getting better, able to burn fatty acid from their good mitochondria afterward, then the necessity of ketone for other than brain is none. That's why the longer we stay in ketosis, the lower our ketone level, but not zero. It's always between 0.5 to 2 millimole. So we don't need to catch ketone. But the saying is, if you eat more protein, then the protein itself will cancel out the ketogenesis. You mean like that, right? If you eat too much protein, then you won't be on ketosis again. No, that there is basic physiology that we have to understand here. Why, if we eat glucose, like 20 to 50 grams, will cancel out the ketogenesis? Because when carbs that gives glucose, it will get digested from the hepatic portal first. Then from the hepatic portal, it will directly fill out the glycogen in the liver. If you fill all the glycogen in the liver, that's how you cancel out the ketogenesis. Okay? Why carbs cancel out the ketogenesis? So there is no more ketone. Then the brain is going to back to use sugar with carbs, more than 20 to 50 grams. Yeah? Okay. How about protein? This is where you have to see at the physiological. Protein also get digested through hepatic portal. As we know, long chain fatty acids go through lymphatic system, but protein go to hepatic portal just like glucose did. So the liver is also controlling of how much protein to be bypassed to the circulatory system. But as we know, we don't need too much protein. Yeah. So where do the excess protein goes? Okay, it's sure it goes to glucose. The liver will use the protein first as it owns ATP to make its own energy for ATP. But some of them that doesn't really need it by the circulation, doesn't really need it for repair of anything, will be turned into glucose. But the way it turns to glucose must come through mitochondria first. The difference is when carbs entering from outside the cell, from blood, the glucose transporter, it's going to fill directly to the liver glycogen. That's what canceling out the ketogenesis. But the protein, every glucogenic amino acid, I mean the protein complex of amino acids, and the one that can turn into glucose is called glucogenic amino acid, right? Before it goes to glucose, it has to enter the mitochondria first, where it enters the Krebs cycle first. Then it ends up as, I'm going to get a little technical.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
It's going to get into a substance called oxaloacetate, and this oxaloacetate will go to PEP and then all the way to gluconeogenesis. If the glucose from the protein entering from the mitochondria point of view, it won't cancel out the ketogenesis because the ketogenesis itself happens together with the gluconeogenesis. While if you eat carbs, you will lower the gluconeogenesis. So that's from the perspective of the substrate. I haven't talked about from the hormonal perspective. If you eat carbs, you're going to turn the insulin on, right? You get high level insulin, but in the other part, in the other part of the pancreas, we have beta and alpha cells. The alpha cells, which make glucagon, will get very low. So the insulin will be too high, and the glucagon will be too low. So as we know, glucagon itself is used to turn on the gluconeogenesis. That's why insulin will suppress the gluconeogenesis if we eat carbs, and it will going to kill the glycogen. But if we eat protein, sure, it also rise the insulin level, but also rise the glucagon level. So the ratio stay intact. It doesn't cancel out the gluconeogenesis. It doesn't cancel out all the glucogenic amino acids get entering the gluconeogenesis pathway. So the ketogenesis still happen. You won't lose the ability to make ketone, and your brain will actually use ketone, even if you eat more protein than you need. It all end up in glucose, but not canceling out like the glucose entering from the hepatic porta. That's the physiological point of view.
Thanks, Joe.
It's not technical.
No, it's very interesting, and I have learned something real solid today. I think our viewers are also going to learn. They are also going to learn, because we always had this fear that protein will actually impair ketone production and all. I think you have explained it physiologically very well. And that is true. Even earlier, I used to see in my own case, my ketones used to remain about 2 millimoles. Nowadays, it remains between 0.5 to 1.5.
Yeah, and it's fine. And it's fine, right? Nothing wrong. You still feel great in ketosis. It doesn't depend on how much you get your ketone level, right? And also one more thing about this protein scary. People scared of protein. People sometimes see wrong. If you see 100 gram of fish, they think that it's 100 gram of protein. No, it's not. It's only if we eat real food, there's the protein level in the real food is only 20 to 30% from the weight itself. So if you eat chicken breast, you think that 100 grams of protein? No, you only get 20 to 30 grams of protein for 100 grams of chicken breast, or it is fish or beef, anything, as long as real food. That's the real. So many people see it that protein itself is one on one. It's not like fat. If you eat 100 grams of oil, like vegetable oil, you get 100 grams of fat. It's true, but it's not true with protein from real food.
Thanks. And Joe, just one question again, because you told that you have been feeding your son all the chicken or eggs. What about vegetables? Does it take a lot of vegetables also, or is it restricted?
No, okay. Actually, I'm not restricting about vegetables, but when he was 2 years old, my mother-in-law, who makes the food, tried to give him a broccoli inside the food, in the blended food, but my son cannot take it. He throw up. So since the first time until now, my son only eat just animal source food. Just fish, until no vegetables at all.
So it is, I can call it, a sort of carnivore.
Yeah, you can call it like that. Although my son, to make the texture of the food good, my mother-in-law used tofu. You know tofu?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We know.
It's not a true vegetable, but
Yeah.
it's a protein source too.
Soybean, yeah, fine. So
Yeah,
does he
fine.
not crave for bread? Does he not crave for ice cream and all
That's
the pastries?
Yeah, that's the trick. We never recognize, we never get him that kind of food, so he doesn't crave with ice cream. He always real food, and he never try bread, anything. Although we have the keto-fied version of bread, ice cream, and everything.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give him. Until now, he is not craving for them. So it's easy if we go abroad somewhere where we don't easily get keto-fied ice cream or bread. He won't going to ask it. That's easy for me. But that's the hard part when other members in here in Indonesia try to get their son into keto, but they already know about ice cream, cup. That's the hard part. In my part, it's easy because we never introduced it to my son. So he never crave. But my son only eat today. My son only eat at 10 a.m. and then eat again at about 3 to 4 p.m. They eat only twice a day.
Twice a day. Okay. Just like me, even I have only breakfast and dinner. That's all. I don't have lunch.
Yeah.
So even most of us, that's how we do. That's how we gradually enter into it. We might maybe having 3 meals a day, and then we gradually come to 2 meals. So now let me come to a very interesting question. What were the challenges you faced, especially from the medical community, and how did you manage to convince them? Because what you have done is something revolutionary, probably for the first time in Indonesia and first time in the world also. And I don't think there are any unique stories like yours. So how did you manage to convince them?
Yeah, that's the part why keto practice is so different from other keto diet community, because we're not talking only about the food itself. Because like I said in the previous, how I found this keto practice from myelin, from ketone, from starvation, and then I can put the line into the ancestral lifestyle, back to the ancestral. Why it is so normal? If you think like this, I try to tell people how long have humans lived in a modern environment. Maybe hundreds of years, we don't know, but for sure, for millions of years, we live in the wild, right? So let's see, how is the lifestyle? So if previously I told you about ketosis from a physiological perspective, like I always told the medical community, whenever I get talk in low carb seminars here in Indonesia, I never talk about the food. The start point I talk about ketofastosis is always about the physiology first. Try to make people understand of why ketosis itself, to make them accept that ketosis is normal or not. After they understand the physiological, after they understand that fat is their fuel tank and the primary motor is their brain, and they make, so that makes sense why there is a ketone, because this is the way the brain have to recognize fuel tank, right? And then we see what timeline is this normal? Because if you see how ketosis is necessary, today is not too necessary. Because of what? Even if our brain use glucose, we can always buy carbs. There's carbs around us. It's different when you live in the wild. Like say, I don't know, in India, you still have wild forest there? Do you still have wild forest?
We do have.
Yeah, wild forest with no modern. You have traditional culture, traditional people live in the jungle.
Very few,
Yeah,
very few.
But if you've been to the jungle itself, you see, the first thing you wake up in the morning in the jungle, what will you do? You're going to see how the ketofastosis protocol. I make 5 of it. You'll see how it happens. At first, if you wake up in the morning in the wild, like in the jungle, what will you do? What is the first instinct you will do, Sasi?
The first thing I'll do is to hunt for food or water.
Yeah, because you want to live, right?
Yeah.
You have to survive. Okay? There's in the jungle, you cannot buy any food around you, right? So what should you do? You have to go to find it, right? You have to move. I don't have to tell you to go for exercise, right?
Yeah.
I don't have to tell you to go for fasting, right? The first thing in the morning, you don't have refrigerator, right? In the jungle, right? So you're going to move and look for your own food. Look, not buy. You're going to hunt for it, right? So you move under fasting condition. It's natural, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So can you imagine? Can you predict what time will you find the food? What time? Can you predict it?
No.
No. That's what I call food is very uncertain back then. Today we talk about diet because there's a lot of food choice, and if you want to go this diet, we just buy the food that comply with the diet, right? It's so easy. Not with the ancestral lifestyle. The ancestral lifestyle, which is ketofastosis, is 24 hours lifestyle. It has to be synchronized. Because ketosis happens in their timeline, not our timeline. So we have to make a guideline so we can actually mimic how they live in the past. Although we have already lived in the modern lifestyle. So the first in ketofastosis protocol is intermittent fasting. At the beginning for adapting, you can eat at 12. When at lunchtime, you can eat at lunch. Although when you have adapt, you can prolong it later to the afternoon. But we have to do intermittent fasting so we can act like when we are in the wild back then, the ancestral lifestyle. That's how the ketosis is normal. Now it's not normal. Why you have ketone in your body? Because I don't eat carb. Why you don't eat carb? Because I want to have ketone. Some people would say it's not normal. But in the wild, you have to have ketone. Otherwise, how you can move, find your food without any food before in the morning for breakfast, and you don't get neuroglycopenic? It's impossible, right? That's why you have to recognize your body fat as a fuel tank. That's why in the wild, people must be on ketosis. And what will you hunt them? There's many of leaves. You can't just eat leaves, right? Also, this leaves is not poisonous. I used to eat this as vegetables. But no, if you eat in the wild, you won't be searching only for leaves. You search for something that moves. You hunt them, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why fasting, intermittent fasting, and low carbs is the basic fundamental. In the wild, it's not easy to find carbs. I don't have to tell you why. You can go by yourself to the wild and see if you can find carbs that easy to eat. It's very hard. So the basic primitive instinct of human being that haven't learned anything too much about nutrition is only to find something that moves, hunt them, and eat them. And the one that's palatable for their tongue. And as we know, animal foods always palatable, right? Right? Without too much ingredient, animal food is palatable. Okay? And then about the stress level. If you live in the jungle, now you work in the modern days. You work, you have to pay your bill, you have lots of psychosocial stress, right? Like a lot of stressor from psychology, from the modern days, because there's many factors. But in the jungle, what would you be stressed for? You only think to survive, right? Just only to food, only to fight. You don't think that I don't have any bills to pay. So it's easier to maintain the stress level low in the wild. Except if you meet a predator, then you have to run. Okay, that's a stressful condition. But it's only an intermittent. It's not happening all the time.
Yeah.
It's not like we on the modern days. It's like we are getting chased by the bears or the lions all the time. We get stressful. Nah, that's why stress management is also the third pillars in our community, our lifestyle. How to manage stress, how to get relaxed. Don't get stressed out all day long. This is, if you want to get healthy with ketosis, don't just not eat carbs is only fine. No, you have to automatically do intermittent fasting like you. First you can perhaps you eat 3 times a day. Now you unconsciously eat two times a day because of what? Because you are already adapted. That's what ketosis is supposed to do. Adapted to calorie restrictions, but unconsciously. You don't. I'm hungry, but I'm not eating because I want to restrict my calories. No, you don't do that, right? On ketosis, no, right? It's because you still satiated. You're not hungry. You're still powerful. That's what happened. That's why intermittent fasting is also happen unconsciously with ketosis. Nah, okay, that's okay. Intermittent fasting, low carbs, and then stress management. Okay, and then workout. About the workout. Or moving, active moving, I don't have to tell you because in the wild, if you want to find your food, you cannot use your phone and order some food. You have to walk your locomotive. So about the workout, you don't have to do that in the jungle. You do that unconsciously. Okay, so the last is about the light.
About
the light.
Delight.
Yeah, in the jungle.
Happiness.
No. The light. The sun.
Light. Yeah, sun. Light.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Sunlight.
Yeah. So, will there be light after 6 p.m. in the jungle? No. So, what will you do in the jungle, in the wild, without no light, without no entertainment, without anything? Perhaps you eat with your fire. You make fire and you eat, and then what? And then you
go to sleep.
So we don't get sleep deprivation in the wild, right? Yeah. So that's the important thing. The most important thing is sleep. I don't know if you ever hear about this or not, but once, perhaps you already feel it yourself, when you get sleep deprived, you sleep only 2-3 hours at night, what do you feel in the morning?
Very bad, terrible.
Very terrible. But when you still eat carbs, you can mask it very easily. You just eat sugar and you feel strong again. But no, not with ketosis. You cannot lie with ketosis. You are powerful on ketosis only if you sleep well. If you don't sleep well, if you sleep deprived, you can get stress overdrive. Trust me. Because what I teach in Indonesia too, more than a diet, ketosis really connected with autonomic nervous system, which is our sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. So, in order for us to easily use the gas pedal for ketosis physiology, you have to rest it at least 6 to 8 hours a day at night. Now the difference between people who still eat carbs and us, they can get sleep deprived and can still look healthy in the morning after they eat breakfast with lots of carbs, sugar, but not with us. That's the thing that I have to tell anyone in the keto diet community, because with this COVID-19 pandemic, there's lots of sleep deprivation happening, and it makes their ketosis state worsen. They don't feel like they used to before this pandemic. Then I found out that it's because they get sleep deprived. Oh, you can do that because that's why there is a list of 5 pillars in ketosis, and sleep is the most important one. Because of what? If I ask people, do you think fasting is healthy? I'm asking you now, Sasi. Do you think fasting is healthy?
I think it's very healthy.
Okay. Do you think exercise, workout is healthy?
Yeah. It is an integral part and must.
Okay. You think that? Okay. Do you think eating is healthy?
Yeah, we have to eat. Yeah, eating is healthy.
What if I told you it's not healthy?
Okay.
What if I told you, that's what the people think. Fasting is just an effort to get healthy. Fasting is just an effort to get healthy. You're not healthy yet. You're not getting healthy yet. Workout is just an effort to get healthy. You're not healthy yet. Eating, giving the substrates to be used for repair and everything is only an effort to get healthy. You're not healthy yet. Think about the time zone when the body has the time to use the substrate from the food and repair all the damage and make you healthy. When is it going to happen?
At night.
At night when you are
Sleeping.
exactly. So there is no healthy before sleep. That's the real idea of physiology. Many people doesn't realize this. They think that, oh, I want to fast long enough so I can get more healthier. I want to fast for 3-4 days because fasting is healthy. The more I fast, the more I get healthy. I want to work out as hard as I can because it's healthy. The more I work out, the more I get healthy. I want to eat many of these nutritious food to get me healthy because this is going to give me something that's going to repair them. It's all just an effort. If you don't give enough time for the body to use the substrate from the food to repair the demand we create from fasting and exercise, you won't get healthy. Trust me, you will get stress overdrive. If you don't sleep enough, your body will start to be too stressful, to make too much damage that it doesn't get repaired. So why keto fast is 24-hour lifestyle? Because I have to remind this to my members in keto fast. Because if not, they only think, I'm not eating carbs. I'm supposed to be healthy, but why I feel not healthy? Wait, what about your sleep? Do you fast too long? Do you eat too less? Do you work out too much? Do you overdo in something in the 5 pillars? That's why it has to be synchronized in the 5 pillars. Because in order for the ketosis to work and give you health, it's not just from the food. It has to be from the lifestyle also. The 24-hour lifestyle, not just only the feeding state.
So, Theo, that is very interesting, and you have really made it very comprehensive. So now you have made it clear why it is 24-hour. So I was wondering when you said initially it's 24-hour lifestyle. Now it's very, very holistic, and and no doubt this 5 pillars you have put it in your logo also, which I've seen. All these 5 pillars. It's very, very interesting. And how many members are there who follow, or how many people follow this keto fastosis in Indonesia? And
I think it's almost because we have many platforms like WhatsApp, Telegrams, and Facebook also. It's around 400,000 for members, but for the medical community is almost 500. We have also WhatsApp platform for medical background there. I'm in there too to give lecture about physiology. We have 2 groups now from the seminars that we made to invite many doctors to understand more about this low carb. And especially we talk about diabetic too, because diabetic is the common concern now, especially in India, right? It's also in Indonesia. Like why I said it's 24 hours, because the real deal of ketosis, the real deal of why we are on ketosis is easy for us to control our glycemic, easy for us to control our blood sugar. Perhaps people with diabetic must use drugs and even insulin to lower their blood glucose. But if we already skip carbs, we ditch carbs, it's easy for us to control our glycemic level, right? That's why I told you it needs to be 24 hours. I am going to ask you, Sasi. If you sleep less, do your blood sugar stay low?
It goes up.
If you get something like a psychosocial stressor, you get stressed enough, you stay low, the blood glucose level?
It goes up. My usual glucose level is from 85 to 95, and if I've slept less, then it can go to 110, 120. And let me tell you, there are times where I had breakfast, let us say 9 o'clock, and even at 3 o'clock, I see sometimes the blood sugar as 120, 130, 140. if I am under tremendous stress. There are times
Yes.
where I am under tremendous stress for the day due to some commitments, due to some meeting. Blood
Yeah.
sugar just would not come down below 120.
Yes,
Just
exactly my point. So if we all talk about this ketosis on physiological level, it's going to be clear. It's not just the food. So the food is without eating carb is a modality. It's a modality. Is the ground to get anything fixed like this. I'm going to ask you again. When we start from not eating carb, okay, we start from the diet itself. Perhaps you don't see me talking much about food, so I'm going to talk about food. Okay, but I'm only to talk what I don't care what you eat, but you don't eat carbs. That's all. Okay, when you don't eat carb and you get ketosis, the first thing you're going to get from the adaptation is it easy for you to eat less, to do fasting? Unconsciously, you don't eat much, so you do intermittent fasting, right? Is it easier?
initially no.
Yeah, after you adapt.
adaptation phase. Yeah, it's very easy. Later on, it is very
It's
easy.
very so today you don't eating carbs. It's easy for you to eat 1 or twice a day. It's easy.
Yeah, very easy.
Okay. It's a so without eating carbs, it's a modality to restrict calorie unconsciously, right? You
Yeah,
don't have to
yeah.
restrict it. Do you still
Yes.
counting your calories? I want to
I
ask,
don't-
you still
I don't
counting?
count.
No, because
I don't
because,
count anything.
Yeah, because you have made your body restrict calorie unconsciously. That's the thing. What you need to be a lifestyle, it has to be like that, not counting all day. Okay. So you're not eating carbs now, today. Is it easy for you to walk, to do many physical activity without eating first? Is it easy for you?
It's very easy.
No?
Very easy.
You don't crave. Oh, I'm tired. No,
No.
you don't craving for food to get energy. No.
Nothing.
So easy for you to do exercise, work out, or even higher
Yeah.
physical activity without eating. It's easy.
Yeah, very easy.
Okay, that's the modality when you don't eat carb. Okay, I'm going to ask you again. Is the 2 pillars already answered? Is it easy for you? Did you get calmer on ketosis? Easy for you to think calmer, to resolve any trouble if you compare it before you on ketosis?
I think it is. I've changed significantly from from a hothead to much more calmer person now.
Yeah. So it makes sense if I told you it's easy to manage stress level on ketosis. It make sense now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So not eating carb is the modality to manage stress level. So the last one. After you don't eat carb, how do you sleep? You sleep easily, soundly?
Very, very much. I mean, 6 to 7 or on an average 7 hours sleep it's very.
So
I
there is
sleep like a
an
baby.
increase. Yeah, sleep like an increase in sleep quality compared
Yeah.
before you still eat carb, right?
That's
So
true.
that's why not eating carbs is the modality for all. Say from these 5 pillars, what everybody is always pro and cons about is only the food. Yeah. If I told you, is intermittent fasting healthy? Oh, sure, it's good. Is workout, exercise healthy? Sure, it's good. Is stress management good? Healthy? Yes, of course. We have to manage our stress. Is a good sleep quality is necessary? Yes, of course. We need to do that. How about doesn't eat carbs? Wait a minute. There's a problem there, right? But actually, without eating carbs, it really supports the other 4 of the pillars of the lifestyle. Because these 5 pillars is the problem is today in modern days today. It's the basic of why people get so many chronic disease. Why they eat all the time, they cannot fast, they eat all the time. Why they become sedentary, they don't actually not motivated to work out, right? They always get sleep deprived, they cannot manage their stress level, and they eat high carbs. This is the basic, the 5 is the basic of chronic disease, not just the carbs only, but 5 only. That's why it has to be a guide to remember that this 5 must be good. So if the ketosis adaptation makes you sleep good and everything, but if you purposely make your sleep shorter, you already said that, oh, you don't feel well, right?
That's true. That is true.
So always remember, ketosis is always be healthy if you synchronize the 24 hours, not just the feeding state. That's the point that I made there.
That's very, very interesting. Now, finally, Theo, due to paucity of time, which are all the different medical conditions that people have overcome with ketofastosis? So we know about cerebral palsy for your son, and we know about weight loss, and what are the other conditions that have been taken care with?
Many. Actually, many. Especially diabetic, of course.
Yeah.
Diabetes. We have diabetes, and at the beginning in ketofastosis at 2016, most of the members who use ketofastosis actually cancer. I'm not saying that it would work to all cancer on the late stage, no, but it really helps on cancer. It suppresses the growth of the abnormal cell. Yes, so cancer patients and also autoimmunity. Yeah. So basically, ketofastosis will have everything all about inflammation, because the lifestyle itself is an anti-inflammation lifestyle.
Yeah.
So all the chronic disease itself, the basic of all chronic disease is inflammation, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Diabetic, cancer, anything, autoimmunity. So
even hypertension, blood pressure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So why the lifestyle itself is hitting straight to the root of the cause, which is lowering the inflammation. And when the inflammation getting lowered, that's when your body starts to heal itself. So it's not a direct targeted drugs for the problem, but our lifestyle, ketofastosis lifestyle, is hitting how to lower the inflammation, so to give a chance for the body to heal, because the body will heal only when the inflammation has resolved, not when it's still high, right? So although you have diabetes, you heal all your symptoms, but it's not directly clear your diabetes. It took time, but it took the condition of low inflammation too, not with high inflammation like low-grade inflammation. No, it won't fix your diabetes. You have to really lower the inflammation with your lifestyle. Then the body has the chance to fix itself. The key is inflammation. That's it. If you see from the physiological perspective, from any disease, we have to lower the inflammation first, from the root.
Very nice, very comprehensive, Theo. So, Theo, your message, what is your message to India? If you want to give a few lines to India, what is your message? Considering our background, considering that we are high grain based, just like yours, we are also wheat and rice based, diabetes exploding. We are going to overtake China shortly. In terms of diabetes, number of diabetes.
Many obesity too, right?
Yeah. We are all toffee generally. We may think that we are thin, but actually we all have central obesity. So just like any other Southeast Asian India, like the Asians.
Yeah. Because we born in the country with the staple food is carb, right? We already think that we learn from our mothers and our great grandfather, and also that our staple food is rice, and we still have to rice for energy. That it's like a tradition that we cannot break. But I think my message for India and also for Indonesia, I still work in it, is to see the perspective of human, not just from our own culture. Is you see that the growth in the carbohydrate food supply is also there is also a rise in chronic disease. If you really want to think about it, it's a good idea to stop the carb. So I know it's not make sense. Yeah, I know if I can talk for hours about this lifestyle and try to make people believe. But actually, what is working is you just have to try it. Just try 1 to 3 months not to eat carbs. If you don't feel any better, then you can go back to carbs. I just want to ask people, because we can tell many theories, scientifics and anything, but they have to know, they have to feel it by themselves. Indonesian and India people have to try not eat carb only for, if that's too long for you, 3 to 4 weeks. If 1 to 3 months is too long, 2 to 3 months is too long, 3 to 4 weeks, and afterwards you ask yourself, do I still craving for the carbs? Because sometimes people cannot stop carbs because they already imagine, what? I cannot eat rice anymore. I cannot eat noodles anymore. I cannot eat pasta anymore, and it scares them. We cannot push them with theories, journals to make them. They have to decide for themselves to try at least 3 to 4 weeks to see if they're still craving after 3 to 4 weeks. I just want people to try when when you have when you already gone to ketosis. It's easy for you to restrict your calories. It's easy for you to avoid carbs. Now you can avoid carbs. Now you still think, wow, if I don't eat rice, I'm going to get dizzy. That's what you think now. Just do it for 3 to 4 weeks. Better if you do it for 3 months. If you don't feel any better, then stop. That's easy, right? But you have to try it. What I'm saying is, the basic point is learning by doing. It's going to be easy to learn all about ketosis if you have doing it also, and you feel it that is healthy. You feel it also, not just hear it from others, but you feel it. Yes, this is healthy. Trust your body. Your body know what is right for him, what is right for the body. Trust me. You have to do it first.
Thank you, too. You are such an interesting person that I know that you can talk for 8 hours flat. It's very, very interesting, and I personally have learned a lot today. So, Teo, what we'll do is we can have just a small question and answer session. The participants, I have unmuted everyone, and if they want, they can put their video off, is an option. So, anyone has any question? Clive Pinto has asked a question, can insulin and glucagon work simultaneously? So, this is a question from Clive.
I'm sorry?
Can insulin and glucagon work simultaneously?
Insulin and what? And
glucagon.
Works simultaneously?
That is the question.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. So this is, Is that going to happen on the fat state? On the fat state means that after you eat. Because on the fasted state, your insulin will get low and your glucagon will get higher. If you eat carbs, your insulin will get higher, your glucagon will get lower. But the question is, can insulin and glucagon work simultaneously? That means the rice is on the two sides, insulin and glucagon. That's when you eat on the keto. When you eat, you must eat protein, right? You cannot eat too small protein. You eat chicken, you eat fish, you get the protein. Then that's when you get rice in two hormones, insulin and glucagon. Why it has to be two hormones? Because protein, you cannot store excess protein. So our body, the fuel tank, can only store fat. If you eat protein in excess, you cannot store it into muscle. It's not like that. If you work out, then the protein needs for the repair makes the new muscle. If you don't work out, you eat lots of protein, you cannot store it as a muscle. So in order to store protein, there have to be a use for the protein itself, the amino acid. There has to be a function. If not, you have to store it as a fat. But in order to do that, you have to turn the protein into glucose first. It is called gluconeogenesis. In order to turn on the gluconeogenesis, you have to turn on the glucagon. That's why protein triggers glucagon. And wait, after it became glucose, remember, gluconeogenesis turns amino acids, the glucogenic one, into glucose. After it became glucose, it needs to enter the cell, right? So it needs to trigger the insulin too. Otherwise, how the cell going to uptake the glucose? because insulin is needed to make the GLUT4 rise to grab the glucose from the extracellular into the cell. So glucagon is needed to turn excess amino acid into glucose, and the glucose itself needs insulin to get inside the cell. That's why it works simultaneously.
Fine. There's a comment from Dr. Tanmoy. Amazing insight and perspective. Your story is very inspiring. Millions of children with cerebral palsy and epilepsy can benefit. It's a tragedy that mainstream medicine has taken such a long time to catch up with truth. I wish your son a healthy life, and it was a wonderful
session. Thank you so much.
So, Issy from UK says, excellent presentation, so clear and informative. Thank you very much. So, any more questions? Do the audience have any questions they want to ask you? Fine. I think there's no more question. Anup, you want to say anything?
I need to hear how about my presentation from Anup's perspective, because he's an engineer too. I think Anup think like me as an engineer. See as a system, right, Anup?
Yeah.
More or less, yes.
Yeah, that's how I see at the beginning.
I think every engineer works in the same perspective, root cause analysis. You will keep asking why, how, and then you will reach the bottom to really find out. So that is why.
We have to make people see from the big picture itself, because the pro and cons is always the carbs. Yeah, right. If we tell people to eat fat, it's going to make more cons there. So in Indonesia, I don't teach people to eat fat. No, I just teach the carb. That's it. Why? Because there is no essential glucose from our food.
Yeah.
That's the basic thing. So if we talk about carbs, don't say about the food name. It's going to be makes a lot of pro and cons. But what happens when carbs digested into our system is glucose. So the real question is glucose essential is an essential nutrient for human from outside. That's what I try to explain first. When they understand that there's no such thing as essential glucose, then we can sufficiently make our own glucose from liver. We have our own sugar factory, and if we let our sugar factory works, it's going to make glucose on a demand-driven level. Only make glucose when there's demand, but try not to exceed. It's not like when we eat, we give glucose from our food, then our pancreas will working hard to produce insulin to counter the spike. So the real key of healthiness is glycemic control. Our effort to live in this world to try to have a long healthy life is glycemic control. How to do that? Low carb is just a modality, but the real deal is to pay attention to the 5 pillars, because it's all giving a metabolic input. Everything in the 5 pillars that I told you, the fasting, the workout, the moving or exercise, the relaxation, stress management, or even the sleeping period, it's all giving input to our metabolic system. So if you're going to use this ancestral metabolism, which is ketosis, we have to try to live like how they live in the wild. Because ketosis is normal in the wild, so we have to live in moderate society, but guidelines like in the wild. We have to get enough sleep, we have to manage our stress, we have to restrict our feeding windows, although we can eat all the time, but naturally ketosis happen with food restriction, because people must search food, so they have to be able to access their own fuel tank. So it's not too normal if you have been on ketosis for 3 to 4 years, but you still eat 3 to 4 times a day. It just doesn't make sense. It's not supposed to be like that. So it has to be somehow, someday, it has to be combined with intermittent fasting, because you're not hungry, so why you have to eat all the time? That's the basic idea. But why I try to explain the 24 hours of ketosis lifestyle, not just eating keto, but in order to maintain our ketosis lifestyle, look for the 24 hours. Don't get just my message is for today in pandemic, because the stressful situation. Just don't get sleep deprived. That's the message. Sleeping is important for us.
Thanks, Joe. You have touched upon a very important point. Everything is holistic, and I can see that you're a very passionate person, and you are again one individual who can change the world. You are not only change your own world, your own son's world, but you're also changing the life for better for many people across your subcontinent and possibly across the world. And I really wish to propose a big thanks to you for coming in D-Life platform, chatting with us. There's a lot of things which I learned from you today, and let us hope for future. Maybe we can come again in this platform, and maybe something discuss little more different topics in detail, something in the same keto fastosis lifestyle. And really thank you, and maybe D-Life and keto fastosis can also work together to see that we bring this message across this subcontinent at least, with the entire Southeast Asia, including India. We are at the threshold of, or rather we have just entered into this whole metabolic disease explosion. So let us work together and see that more and more people get benefit out of regaining health.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I hope it means for everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Anup.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye, everyone. Thank you so much.
I stopped the recording, Teo, so it was really good. And I should thank you for accepting this invitation personally. I always wanted to talk to you and interact with you for so long that finally we could get in touch, and thank you for accepting this invitation.
I'm thanking too for this chance for me to explain how ketofastosis is. So because not many people know about ketofastosis, that's the way I get almost 500 medical doctors join the ketofastosis is through that way, through the physiology. Don't fight them with the food. They don't understand the food. Fight them with their own. They learn about the physiology, and then when we try to explain how body fat is the fuel tank and the brain is the motor, they will get it. When they accept ketosis as the physiology, then you can start to teach them what food to avoid and what food to eat. It's easier that way. Don't start with the food if you talk with the medical society.
So, Dr. Tanmoy, you can connect to Teo through Facebook. Just
No. I'm not too active in Facebook. Sasi, perhaps you can give anyone who needs to reach me through WhatsApp. I'm not too active. I'm not too active in Messenger also. Only in WhatsApp. You can reach me in WhatsApp.
Fine, doctor. I mean, see, your group is there, Keto Fastosis group is there, and you are also there in Facebook. So I was just telling Dr. Tanmoy to connect you to through the Keto Fastosis, and just search for Teo Prasetyo, and you'll get. And I will share Teo's number with Dr. Tanmoy.
You can share my number.
Thanks, Teo. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. I have to go pray for Isha. I have. Thank you so much for this invitation. I hope we can meet again in another session. Thank you so much, everyone.
Kebanyakan dari Malaysia tadi. Udah.
Oh gitu. Ini nanti
Ibu juga nonton, Mas.
Oh iya.